At night, the outer quay settles around wet stone steps, mooring rings, and dark water that carries a single lantern in reflection. Nothing here asks to move quickly. The harbor keeps its shape in a patient way, and the hour feels held rather than announced. Wet stone, rope-worn iron, low harbor steps, and the small lantern do most of the speaking. A little dampness stays in the boards. A reflection loosens, then gathers again. The space feels complete without asking anyone to perform it. This is where the night begins, already calm. The quay gives the mind stable forms, soft intervals, and enough darkness to slow attention gently. Beyond the outer quay, the wooden dock edge remains quiet around thick mooring posts and resting ropes. One sheltered flame stays near the dock, while a fainter ship lantern lingers farther out. The mood is anchored and secure, with no need to press forward. Rope coils, dock planks, water lines, and boat shadows remain close to their use. They are simple things, but that simplicity makes the scene easier to inhabit. The harbor does not offer drama here. It offers steadiness. The night continues without resetting itself. It simply carries its calm a little farther along the dock. Near the warehouse threshold, covered bundles and stacked jars sit under a single lamp. The light is small and local, and the room around it stays hushed. Weight, cloth, and wood absorb the hour instead of disturbing it. Covered bundles, jar mouths, basket lids, beams, and damp planks remain quiet in their places. The scene is orderly without becoming rigid. Even the air seems to settle on surfaces rather than move through them. Here the harbor grows heavier and softer at once. The night does not tighten. It deepens. At the end of the dock, a small watch shelter holds its lantern under timber cover. The light is protected, the wind is gentler here, and the whole space feels modest enough to rest inside without effort. A bench, a hook, a rolled mat, and the lantern niche are enough to define the shelter. Each object remains plain and useful. Nothing calls for emphasis. The scene is guarded, but not tense. The harbor keeps offering smaller enclosures inside the larger dark. That quiet containment helps the narration drift rather than push. Nearby, a repair bench rests under a low task lamp, with tar, rope, and simple tools left where work once paused. The remaining warmth is practical rather than bright. It feels like labor has stepped away and left only its materials behind. Tar jar, rope length, cloth rag, mallet, and bench edge all stay near the surface of the scene. Their usefulness keeps the atmosphere grounded. The bench does not feel abandoned. It feels between tasks, and therefore at ease. By now the harbor has settled into a stronger rhythm. It no longer needs to introduce itself. It only needs to continue. Farther out, anchored hulls rise like dark walls above the water. Distant, practical lights and a narrow line of moon sheen give just enough shape to the scene. The scale is larger now, but the mood remains slow and muffled. Under the hulls, anchor lines, ripple bands, pier edges, and mass shadows come in and out of notice. The scene feels broad without becoming grand. Darkness does not open into spectacle. It stays sleep-safe and contained. The harbor grows wider here, though the narration stays close and measured. In a side court, empty fish baskets have been washed and left to dry. One lamp near the drain channel keeps the space readable, while the rest remains briny and still. The work of the day has passed, and only its cleaned surfaces remain. Woven baskets, the drain, a bucket, a rope loop, and the timber rail hold a quiet kind of order. Nothing in the court asks for interpretation. It simply lets the mind rest in repeated textures and small practical shapes. The harbor continues by becoming simpler, not more dramatic. A shallow customs alcove waits beside the harbor with a shelf, a tally board, and a sealed jar. A single desk lamp glows there, while the darkness beyond the alcove remains undisturbed. The feeling is calm, intimate, and quietly administrative. The tally board, sealed jar, reed pen, shelf niche, and hanging door cloth do not create activity. They suggest completed activity, now at rest. Even record-keeping here belongs to the same softened night. The narration stays inside that restraint. It notices the alcove without waking it. A stone stair climbs from the harbor edge toward the wall path, touched by one low light at the bend and cooler air above. The rise of the steps brings a slight change in space, but not a change in urgency. Salt streaks, shadowed steps, the wall edge, and the small flame at the bend keep the movement controlled. The climb is there, yet the scene never hurries into it. It remains airy, but measured. The night lifts only a little here, enough to vary the rhythm without breaking it. At the outer breakwater, large dark stones hold slow spray under far lantern light and a pale moon haze. The scene opens wider, but it remains steady rather than dramatic. What comes forward is repetition, wet seams, dark surfaces, the same patient contact between water and stone. Foam traces, rope pegs, broken light, and the edges of the stones appear and disappear without calling attention to themselves. Even the more exposed air feels calm. The harbor meets the open water here without changing its character. The narration can widen with the scene while keeping the same low pressure and a little more room between thoughts. Built into the wall, a small beacon niche holds a steady flame. The light remains contained inside stone, and the harbor beyond it stays dark enough to feel distant. The mood is reliable and watchful, but never alert in a waking way. The beacon bowl, ash, the stone recess, and the ledge beneath it are enough. This is a scene of continuity rather than event. The flame persists. The wall persists. The night continues around them. That constancy helps the voice remain even and unforced. Higher up, the sail loft keeps folded cloth and timber beams in a dry, airy stillness. A small lamp touches the sailcloth and wood grain, leaving the rest of the room quiet around it. Furled sail, peg rail, cloth bundle, ladder, and beam remain settled in place. The room has the stillness of stored labor. Nothing in it strains toward the next task. The harbor now feels far enough away to soften into memory, yet near enough to hold the same night state. Near a sheltered corner, amphorae and jars gather under a lantern that touches their clay surfaces one by one. The scene is earthy, heavy, and still, with no sharp edge to its attention. Jar necks, clay dust, rope netting, and the low shelf give the eye small resting points. The weight of the materials slows the scene naturally. It does not need to be slowed by force. The narration can become quieter here, simply by trusting that weight. Just inland from the waterfront, a small cistern yard stays cool under a doorway lamp and faint reflected dampness. After the denser harbor surfaces, this space feels domestic and lightly restorative. The cistern curb, bucket, basin, stone channel, and lintel are ordinary things, and that ordinariness is part of the comfort. Water is present here in a calmer form, held rather than moving. The night is not ending yet, but it has become easier. A lane leading away from the harbor rests between shuttered timber fronts, with a little window warmth touching damp stone. The scene feels withdrawn in the best way, as if the whole street has already leaned toward sleep. Shutters, the lane itself, a door sill, a drain edge, and the rough wall texture remain enough to keep the space readable. The harbor is still nearby, but its energy has thinned into quiet residue. This is one of the clearest drift-forward scenes in the episode, and it should stay soft. Outside the closed tavern, benches are stacked in shadow and only a banked doorway light remains. Whatever noise once lived here has already gone. The scene keeps only the restful calm that follows use. Stacked benches, a barrel, the door beam, a small signboard, and the threshold stone hold the place together. The tavern does not ask to be imagined in motion. It is more peaceful as an emptied structure at night. The narration should pass through it gently, as through a place already finished for the day and already drifting away from notice. From the pier, the view opens toward dark water, the last practical lights, and a faint horizon glow. The space is broader again, but now it feels more contemplative than exposed. Pier edge, mast line, water path, lantern point, and the night sky stay spare and readable. The distance does not sharpen attention. It lets attention loosen a little farther. By here, the episode should feel less like a sequence of scenes and more like one continuous night. For the close, the view settles beneath moored hull shadows near the tide, where one warm reflection moves across mostly dark water. The scene is enclosed, rhythmic, and already dissolving. Hull shadow, rope line, dock beam, ripple, and reflection remain in slow relation to one another. Nothing more needs to be said than that they continue for a while longer. The harbor ends by staying in motion only where motion cannot be helped. The episode closes inside that rhythm, with the night still holding together around it.